And this premier, thinks this is the time to start telling these tales. Like, honestly, we don't need Captain Canada. We don't need Batman. We need a premier.
Can I tell a little story too?
Please.
Gang, what's up? Aaron, Kennedy, and Looney. We have Doug Ford right here, and he's going to be telling very tall tales. I don't know about a 6-foot fish, but this is the story that he's going with, and it has a lot of people wound up. No wonder. Let me know in the comments what you think of Doug Ford. I'm curious. I think he's a loser, but maybe he's just a liar. For the Liberals, the NDP, anything they can do to push ahead their WEF agenda, to have us all digitized and take away all of our rights, have us eat bugs and be happy about it. Anyways, Doug Ford dumps out a bottle of booze here, which must really break the liar's heart. Let's take a peek.
I just think the premier likes to tell tall tales, but I'll tell you this, though. Again, what is he doing talking about chasing down a shoplifter in a parking lot? 800,000 Ontarians want him to be chasing jobs here in the province of Ontario. 800,000 unemployed people. Thousands of folks in Brampton, in Oshawa, in Windsor, forestry workers all across Northern Ontario who are staring down unemployment. And this premier, thinks this is the time to start telling these tales. Like, honestly, we don't need Captain Canada. We don't need Batman. We need a premier who's actually fighting for jobs in this province.
Can I tell a little story too?
Please.
Story?
Please.
Hey, that's something everyone can enjoy.
So a couple months ago, I pull in, I escape from my detail at 8 o'clock in the morning before they come, and it ticks them off. So I hop in my pickup, and I want to go to Home Depot. It was on a Saturday, and I pull up, and I wanted to get some plants. Actually, it was the weekend before the Prime Minister came. I wanted to get plants for the cottage, so I loaded up, and I pulled up right by the nursery. I think the majority have been to Home Depot, so I pull right up, I load up all the plants, and I'm ready to pull out, and here's this guy with a backpack and, a bag. And he's walking out, and the store manager's yelling at him, come back, and the security guard's there. And I said, well, go get him. We aren't allowed to go get him. And so he went around the side of where all the plants and outside the parking lot. So I was in my car, I said, screw this, I'm going after this guy. So by this time, my heart's beating, I'm ticked off. So I go racing behind, no one can see, and I pull up behind him and jump into the car. I said, buddy, what's in your bag? Nothing's in my bag. I said, buddy, I'm going to kick your ass all over the parking lot. Show me what's in your bag. And I did. I couldn't help myself. And so I said, buddy, come over here. And nothing's in my bag. And so we start. Now, by this time, the store manager comes, and he's on fire. He's cursing and swearing. I guess I threw in a couple colorful language, too. And so he's emptying out his bag. And all of a sudden, so he's saying, nothing's here. I said, how about your other bag? It's because he dropped it and heard a cling. And so he went in there and he pulled out one of those saw blades that you open up. Yeah. And you use it as a saw blade. And the store manager said, that's what he stole.
Premier Doug Ford revealing his government is spending $75 million on an anti-tariff ad campaign that will air on American networks. The revelation setting the tone for what will be a jam-packed fall session starting next week.
Then the worst happens. Markets shrink and collapse, businesses and industries shut down, and millions of people lose their jobs. Throughout the world, there's a growing realization that the way to prosperity for all nations is rejecting protectionist legislation and promoting fair and free competition. America's jobs and growth are at stake.
Oh, yeah.
The premier says it was his idea to make former U.S. President Ronald Reagan the star of the new ad campaign.
Let's take Ronald Reagan's words and let's blast it to the American people.
While speaking at a forum in Toronto, Doug Ford said the ad will begin airing on every... $25 million seems steep for an ad campaign. Do you think it'll be effective?
We're a $1.2 trillion economy, and I think it's going to be very effective. I think we're going to not relent in telling our perspective to the American people.
Fighting Trump's tariffs, a major priority for the Ford government heading into the fall session.
If he can't get a deal, we have to hit back.
The government will also introduce a slew of new legislation, the Premier hinting at one that could fast-track business approvals.
We will be relentless in our work to eliminate and streamline the most costly permits.
Another will ban speed cameras in Ontario, and another could eliminate school board trustees, a move that has been met with widespread criticism, but one the government has justified as a cost-saving measure.
You'll fall off your chair when you see the abuse of taxpayers' money.
But critics say it is his government that has been abusing taxpayer dollars, and when MPPs return to Queen's Park, the Premier will face tough questions about his $2.5 billion skills development fund. A recent investigation by Ontario's Auditor General revealing the Ministry of Labour has been doling out millions of taxpayer dollars to projects backed by PC lobbyists.
The Premier also mentioned Prime Minister Mark Carney will be dropping by Queen's Park for a visit on Thursday. The details have yet to be finalized.
As sure as I'm standing here, a message to all the bigwigs at Diageo, I swear to God, those bottles of Crown Royal are coming off the LCBO shelves. When the last person walks out through that door, we're going to make sure LCBO takes off their brands, because we need to stick together. I've sent a message. You don't know if you're next. But the thing that ticks me off, I get it. I get that companies move back and forth. But what I don't get, when you're someone's largest customer in North America, you're going after the largest customer. You know something? I always say smart people aren't too smart. And you guys are about as dumb as a bag of hammers for doing this. So, you know something? I found a bottle, and I don't even drink, of Crown Oil, right? I see that Crown Royal. I saw it at home. So this is what I think about Crown Royal. That's what they could do. And I think everyone else should do the same thing. Start supporting companies that make whiskey here by Ontario people. That's what we need to do, is support each other. You know something? I'm going to make this even come out quicker, because it's not coming out. I know Mayor Barry wants to lie on the floor right now with his mouth open.
No thanks.
But no, I wish I could get this out coming out quicker, but I'll stand here until it's all done. Anyways, folks, thank you. My brothers and sisters in Unit 4 over at Crown Royal, I got your backs. We're going to be there to help you. And by the way, I'm going to send you the cleaning bill to Crown Royal, too.
Oh, yeah.
Mexican imports face 25% tariffs, while Canadian goods face 35%. Joining us now is the Premier of Ontario, Doug Ford. Premier Ford, thanks so much for joining us. As you know, President Trump negotiated the agreement with Canada and Mexico during his first term to replace NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement. You say, and now he could suddenly, all of a sudden, open up the USMCA. What makes you think that?
Well, first of all, I start off every interview with saying how much we love Americans, how much we love the U.S. And as I've said on this show many times, that a tariff on Canada is a tax on the American people. And as you've seen, the study from Yale, it's going to cost Americans $2,400. Manufacturing employment in the U.S., there's over 37,000 people since April have lost their jobs. It's the lowest rate in 5 years. And it's just not working. Let's create the AmCan Fortress, two strongest countries in the world. Again, this is hurting the American people as the rest of the countries, including Canada, is diversifying our trade. We're seeing a 25% increase in trade with the European Union. The UK is up by 30%. So as we're diversifying and onshoring products, the American people are losing their jobs.
What would the impact be for Canada and for the U.S. if President Trump pulled out of that agreement?
Well, it would be unfortunate. We directly employ, just Ontario alone, 9 million Americans, and across the entire country of Canada is probably closer to 20 million Americans rely on Canada for jobs, and vice versa. We rely on jobs with trade with the U.S., but it's just hurting both countries. And as we're diversifying and the rest of the world's diversifying, onshoring products that are typically made in the U.S., no matter if it's aluminum cans or tins or steel beams, we're onshoring everything. We're very, very concerned with the actions of the Trump administration. And, you know, President Trump and Secretary Lutnick, they're smart guys. Like, they understand numbers. And when you see 37,000 Americans have lost their jobs, that can't pay the rent or can't pay a mortgage, put food on their table, and this is just going to grow even more. 6.2 billion in tariff-related costs to the auto sector, and that's going to increase. So the auto workers are going to be losing their jobs.
So how is Canada, Premier Ford, preparing for that possibility now? Have you warned your Prime Minister, Mark Carney, that Canada needs to take action?
Absolutely, and we're doing it as we speak right now. We're onshoring manufacturing jobs that typically are American jobs. We have a market here that we can sustain it, and we're lowering taxes. We're making sure we're competitive for companies to come and invest in Canada. Ontario alone last year attracted over $40 billion of investment, creating more jobs, more opportunities. I would much rather, work with our greatest ally and closest friend and increase jobs in both countries, and we can do that. We'd be the two strongest nations in the world economically. That's our goal, but unfortunately, President Trump doesn't want to go down that avenue. He wants to hurt the American people, and that's exactly what he's doing.
Do you know when Prime Minister Carney of Canada is next scheduled to speak with President Trump?
I'd imagine over the next few days, Wolf, but we're going to continue the dialogue and communication to the best of our ability.
You know, it's strange to me. Trump has repeatedly said over these past several months that he wants Canada, our neighbor in the north, to become a 51st state of the United States. He hasn't said that, though, in a while. Do you still worry about his rhetoric on that front?
No, I'm not worried about that, because that's never going to happen. We'll be your closest ally and closest friend forever, as we have been for 200 years. And we will outlast the Trump administration, and we'll continue working with our great American partners.
What's the general impression of Trump in Canada?
He's probably the most disliked politician in the world in Canada, because he's attacked his closest family member, and that's the way we look upon it. And when I talk to the governors and senators and Congress people, even Republicans totally disagree, but they're too scared to come out and say anything because the president will go after them, outside of a few senators. And I want to thank them for coming out and standing with not just American people, but their closest friends and allies, which is Canada. And again, we love the Americans. It's unfortunate President Trump decided to go down this road.
And just to be totally transparent, as someone who grew up on the U.S.-Canada border in beautiful Buffalo, New York, I love Canada as well. I love the Canadians and always have. The Ontario Premier, Doug Ford, as usual, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
As a European, I am a European, actually.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, Irish citizen. Yeah, so there you
welcome.
go.
Welcome.
Speaking as a European.
WTF.
Here, here.
How many kids did you molest with Jeffrey Epstein?
More than just elbows.
And as the most European of the non-European countries.
Being aware of what potential conflicts of interest you sought
to avoid. What possible
conflict
would you have, Stephanie? Stephanie, I'm complying with the rules. I'm complying with the rules in advance. Come on for now.
These are Muslim values. These are Canadian values.
Hi, everyone. Congratulations, you're spending more money on taxes than on food, clothing, and shelter combined.
Hey, that's something everyone can enjoy.
All right, gang, thank you all very much for watching. Aaron, Canadian Looney, like, share, subscribe. Smash that subscribe. We're trying to grow this thing. Canadian Federal Politics. Get yours right here. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next video.